morning, everyone, and welcome to the MVNO Academy Virtual Forum. My name is Eva Campbell. I'm MVNO Nation's co-founder, and I'll be hosting the event today. Today, we welcome the MVNO Academy team, who will outline the key considerations when setting up an MVNO business. So a very exciting session ahead of us. There will be a question time at the end, so if you have any questions for our experts, please type them in the Q&A box, which you can find at the bottom in the toolbar. Please note that all questions are public. Before I hand over to our expert speakers, just a quick note to confirm that this forum will be recorded and we will share the video with you after the event. Let's kick off our session. I would like to introduce our expert speakers, Peter Nussbaumer and Helmut Stag. Peter, Helmut, a very warm welcome and over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Eva, always for the nice introduction. We always feel like superstars when you're doing that. Yeah, so as Eva mentioned, my name is Peter Nussbaumer. I'm one of the co-founders of the MVNO Academy. And today with my colleague, Helmut Stagl, who is also a lecturer and a subject matter expert, having had a couple of MVNOs and not just MVNOs, also MVNEs, and very recently an MVNA under his umbrella. We'd like to introduce a little bit of what we are doing in the MVNO Academy. We have built this program out of a very clear reason. We want to help MVNOs, aspiring MVNOs, or also established one or B brand, to give a good overview of what it needs and what it has to be looked at when you want to start an MVNO or want to change an MVNO, even turn it around. I mean, it's not a secret that there's also MVNO struggling, like in every business. We are no excuse in our domain, but we want to make it better. In my career in the last more than 20 years now, I was able and witnessing, and also on others' behalf, launching 50 MVNOs plus in all types of areas in this world. I myself had been owning and shareholder of 4 MVNOs, sitting in the board of several MVNOs, and also actively managing those. I can't say we have done everything right. We have made a tremendous amount of mistakes. I believe we have learned from such mistakes, and finally, I'm still proud to say that about 80% of all these MVNOs over the last 15 years are still on the market and serving happy customers, which is definitely above the average in the MVNO market. So what we are doing today is we are not actually presenting the whole program and the course, but we want to give you a taste, and also I hope there will be some hints and new information for you, or just a reconfirmation of anything you have been thinking of. It is not the whole course, as said, but we are touching 5 topics, and these 5 topics will be presented by myself and Helmut. Helmut, some words?
Yeah, I'm originally coming from the MNO world, so I was working for the Austrian incumbent A1. And it was like a journey coming from a market where it was dominated by A1, where it changed dramatically over the years. And this was more experience than you can ever get within 10 years. And then I switched to the MVNO side, which was again very challenging but interesting, because you have to really be careful about pitfalls, but we're not talking about pitfalls today, but how you can do it properly.
Yeah, not just pitfalls. I mean, pitfalls are important. Yeah? So there's always one who goes in first, but the others then can go around. Okay, I think enough of sweet talking. Let's go to the presentation and get into this. Let me just share my screen. Yeah, so yeah, this is us. The agenda of today, we'll try to cover this within the next 30 minutes. We love to talk a lot. However, we try to keep it fresh and short and crispy. The 5 big topics and some answers. The first big question is always, which MVNO type shall I get into? So not every MVNO type is fitting everybody's business and plans. There's good reasons for each of them, and we will go and to have a look at it a little bit closer as a first topic. The big thing, artificial intelligence in customer care or not, or what's a quick compromise? It can. This is an endless topic. Yeah? We can talk about it and lose ourselves into that. On the other hand, it should always be making and not too much effort, and so keeping the costs reasonable so you don't kill all your savings. About the network SLA, everybody's talking about an SLA and nobody wants to be discriminated by his mobile network operator or being, let's say, kept under. But how you do it, yeah, how you can measure it, how you can do it yourself. We have developed a methodology with such for that with a partner of us, and we'd like to present you on how we're doing that. The technology, it's like everybody knows this little story where it said that during a human life you will eat 7 spiders while sleeping. And somehow this always reminds me to the miracle that everybody believes that they need an HLR, the HSS, to own the customer. Both are fake, and we want to bring a little bit of light into the shade. And number 5 is, well, everybody loves margins. We do as well, and a couple of ways we want to show by today. Let's get into the topic number 1.
Perfect. Number 1, which MVNO type shall I get into? So you see now really nice overview where we separated MNO business from the MVNO business. And of course, it's clear that an MNO has all the infrastructure, all the organizational parts that are needed. So starting from the radio network, which is of course key element, but coming further, an MNO also has all the interconnection contracts. So basically, he's holding a very, very important thing in his hands regarding costs to other operators. If we go further, value-added services, an MNO has by far more opportunities to introduce value-added services, whatever it may be. Of course, an MNO has a customer care organization, but also all the systems and also CRM systems. So basically, that's also a key element in knowing your customer and collecting data and analyzing data. We'll talk about it a little bit further. And of course, an MNO has a billing and collection organization and all the systems that are needed for this. And of course, an MNO has sales and marketing, but not only the departments, but also the distribution channels. So basically, if you see this nice overview of the value chain in mobile services, the MNO holds all the key elements that are needed. Basically, if you decide to start an VNO, a virtual network operator, the only difference is that you don't have the full radio network, but you get a slice of it. So you can manage it, but you don't possess it, more or less. And the challenge here is, if we come to the MVNO full overview, do you have all the organizational parts in place? So keep in mind, you have to manage everything if you want to do it as a full MVNO. So the full MVNO starts with having all the interconnection contracts, offering value-added services, but also being able to create value-added services, has a customer care and a CRM system, has billing and collection systems and the organization, and has also sales and marketing. So marketing, a little bit more in detail, does not only mean the promotional part, but also the product development part. And the product development part also consists of a lot of simulations and calculations to be honest, it's not only a controlling part. And if we go further, the MVNO Lite, here you see the differentiator is maybe you are in the position to offer value-added services, to create and offer value-added services or not, but should start with your own customer care and CRM. And here, and this applies for any MVNO. You can, of course, outsource customer service, and you can, of course, put it aside a little bit, but we will talk in the number 2 topic, why customer service or customer care is so important for an MVNO, or could be important for an MVNO. Billing and collection, of course, you should be able to do it either with your platform provider or you have a system in place on your own. And of course, you should have sales and marketing in place. And regarding sales, of course, a distribution channel. May it be online only, or may it be via retailers or whatever you prefer. And as a reseller, you simply decide to go into only one direction. So maybe you have a really good distribution network in place, and you do the marketing for the products, and you get either a revenue share, profit share, whatsoever. But that's a really distinct decision you have to take during your process of defining which MVNO type shall I get into.
Yeah. So you see, the sales and marketing, that's where it all comes from. Yeah, you have a good niche, you have a good customer base, or you have an excellent idea on how to bring your mobile products or combine with another core service onto the market. How deep you want to go into it is not just a question of days, but also what is reasonable. I mean, if somebody asks you, you want to have the customer care in your own hands, yes, of course I want to have. Yeah. You want to be able to create your own value-added services, whatever idea you have to add on the plate. Yes, of course I want. You want to have your own interconnect because you have maybe good relationships to the one or the other country. It's always a yes, I want. Yeah, but there's cost behind. There is a lot of effort behind. There is time behind. It's not easy just to make an interconnect agreement with 200, 300 MNOs in the world. So there may be reasons why you're outsourcing that, going to other aggregators and so forth and so on. Of course, if you're, let's say, an ethnic MVNO and you have some, let's say, Nigeria is currently hot in the MVNO market, and you say I have a very good interconnection down there on my own lines, then it would make sense. Then you go into that. There's Blinton, there's Levara, there's really good examples for that.
Sure.
Yeah? So on the other hand, it's always a question, and again, we come to this in the HLR. I want to be a reseller only because I want to take care about anything else. I'm just a good retail chain, let's say. Do I want to own the customer? Can I do this as a reseller? 90% of the answers will be, no, you can't. You have to be a full MVNO for that. And I'm saying it's simply wrong. Yeah, it's simply wrong. It's not just a matter of how your agreements are being modeled. And at the very end, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically summarized, your decision will affect, of course, your cost structure, the one or other way. And typically it's not really easy to find the right people who have experience and who know what they're really doing, because basically we'll come and talk about it a little bit further about the wholesale contract, wholesale cost, but basically you will see in your simulations what is maybe something that you want too much, but is not reasonable or not sufficient at this moment.
Yeah, you always have to concentrate on what's your core business, what you can do best. That's where you put your focus on, and the rest will just select what can really contribute value and what not.
Exactly.
So let's go to the next slide, because I believe we are running already a little late. But this was anyway expected. So what about your priorities? Yeah? Helmut was saying is a customer ownership, the value creation, where you can really create a value and displace yourself from competition, I would say.
Yeah. because if we're talking about customer ownership, then we're talking more or less about full or light MVNO. As a reseller, you rarely own the customers because the customers will belong to the MNO. But if this is something that is in your focus for whatever reason, then you should keep in mind that you have to take the option full or light MVNO, because customer ownership also means, and I'm jumping now to the very last point. If you're planning to have an exit sooner or later, the customer has a value. So this is important also for your decision which type to take. And of course, do you want to be the one and only who defines the products and who will offer them? Then you need product offering autonomy. And this is most likely as a full MVNO, but also as a light MVNO. As a reseller, you, in most cases, I would say 95%, you have to take what the MNO offers to you. And one more question is it telco only? So like the core products, voice, SMS, data, or is it a kind of innovative bundling, like over-the-top services? This is something you have to experience alongside your business planning. And this is also a journey, but sooner or later, you have to decide what are you going to offer.
Yeah, it will also be one of the strategic points to say if I'm just a reseller or if I'm a light MVNO, let's say. If you're just telco only and you're just leveraging your excellent marketing channel, I believe it's very clear that you will go more to the reseller, because the differentiation will not be on this one telco product. If you're bundling this and it's maybe more complex, then the product offering autonomy should be in your hands, and that's where you need your own charging systems and your own product management. Yeah, cash flow is always important. Helmut was sitting on boards of also as a CFO with MVNOs. So if cash flow is important for you and the funds are very low, the reseller model will be the easiest, I believe, because then you're just talking about the margins. So you have a gross margin, and that's where you live from. On the other hand, you don't need to take care about all the wholesale bill, because you don't have one.
Exactly. But it depends, you know. The variety of opportunities is quite big, and it's your own story you're going to write, and therefore some decisions have to be made and taken. And customer ownership with cash flow is maybe not that important, because you're focusing on market share, because you have an exit strategy. So this is one scenario you can take. But if it is a strategic project, because you're not really coming from the mobile business, you're kind of big retailer, you have a loyalty program, you want this as a strategic complementary asset in your business, then it's a different story. Then you probably will take a deeper look into the cash flow situation, of course. And as we said, customer management, it's a huge topic, because it's not only caring about your customers, but it's really about collecting data. We'll talk about it a little bit later. And this is already the next point, customer data creation. So you're creating in your systems, in each customer interaction, may it be via self-service, may it be via call center, may it be via email, chat, app, whatsoever, you're collecting a lot of data. You're learning about the customer's preferences whenever he changes a plan, whenever he takes a new bundle. So basically, this is a value. You can do something with it, you can analyze it, and it is also very important to protect it, and to have something more insight into your customer base than your competitors have.
Exactly, and not just your competitors, also your hosts.
Also the host.
We are not just talking about customer care data, the intention of selling. Certainly depending on data protection laws, but they're different in every country. So you can also learn out of the customer if he's traveling. You see which handset he's using. You will be able to offer a new handset if you're in that business. You see the interaction he's doing. There's a lot of things. They certainly can also be all be anonymous. At the very end, you learn about your customership, and at the very end, it is the question: who is creating the data? In a reseller model, you will not be the creator of the data. It will just depend on what you get over from your mobile network operator, so your host. If you're a full MVNO or even a light MVNO, you can create a lot of data yourself because you are in the service control function. And that's where this data is being created. And then the question is again on how much you share with your host. So there's a lot of things to be considered. Like if you want to be an extended arm for a bank or you do some credit scoring, the reseller model may not be the one which applies to you, even though it will be easy for a bank just to set a SIM card on top to an account.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
One word regarding competitors. There's also the situation where your host MNO can become your competitor. So if you're not covering only a niche that your MNO will never reach, so basically there is the situation that he can become your competitor as well.
Yeah, the bigger you become, the more likely it will be that you will become competitors.
Exactly. And last but not least, we talked about it. Which strategy will you choose for your venture? Is it an exit, or is it a strategic channel? Is it a complementary strategy for your core business? And again, here it's very important to decide what is really important for me at the very beginning, but also the next stage, first 2 to 3 years, cash flow and or funding. Very, very important question, not to run out of resources and continue your journey.
Yeah, you will never have enough funding. Let's go to the next one, otherwise we have to shorten the agenda. This is just a little bit to show you that what we are doing with you is we will model various simulations of MVNOs. So there is a light MVNO, there's a full MVNO, what it means to be on a different wholesales model, which is not just related to the value chain, but also in each value chain model you have different wholesales model. We'll talk about it in a couple of seconds. Well, with our pace, maybe minutes or hours. And what it means to be a reseller. You will easily recognize for the cash flow, the lighter the better, for the value creation, and for a long-term view, you have more capabilities to especially work on the cost side and on the margin then with a full MVNO.
Yeah, just one word. This is very important to do several simulations just to be sure I did the right decision. So seeing just the results, but alongside the planning process, you will discover a lot of hiccups and a lot of experience. What do I want? What can I afford? And the simulation then just shows you the result, how it could be. Yeah, it's anyway just a plan.
It's anyway just a plan, and it also helps you to decide on which order first. It doesn't make that you go to a mobile network operator and negotiate a wholesale agreement, and then you're happily waving the paper just being inked, and then you start planning your product proposition.
Exactly.
You may not have chosen the right wholesale model, and I bet you haven't.
Exactly.
Finally, we reached number 2.
Finally, yeah, because I'm basically coming from the customer service part. I was more or less an interface between marketing, sales, and the customer service department. And you can imagine having campaigns in Austria in a highly competitive market was really very challenging for a couple of years. And I just can tell you from my experience that the customer care or customer service is really a key differentiator, and it's really of highest interest sometimes of the management team, but importance, especially if it comes to retention. So when you know your customer base, when you know like from your contractual point of view, when is the contract of my customer expiring, but when is he also not using his phone anymore or using his plan anymore, then you have the opportunity to react or to act, more or less. So first is reaction, because you analyze and then you act. And the key is keep your cost reasonable. And this is really something that was discussed over the last 10 to 15 years. I remember the channel shift put everybody to web self-services and let us install IVRs where the customer will get lost and not talk to our agents, because agents are very expensive, and really crazy things like that. Now we're entering more or less a new era, because artificial intelligence will probably help us and become a significant tool and instrument set to reduce customer service costs. But it's not a simple switch, because you really have to integrate AI in a very not only innovative, but in a very consolidating way. And if we're talking about call center costs, I'm pretty sure, or we're pretty sure, that AI will be able to reduce costs by 50 to 70%, if not more. And also second level costs can be reduced by 20 to 40%. And if you're in the MVNO business, you of course there are seasons like summer season now. Roaming topics are of course one of the number one, but basically you have 4, maybe 6 cases that cause a lot of calls or cause a lot of customer interaction. And if we go further, we can really say that these 4 to 6 or 7 top topics can be reduced by AI, or let us call it an automation of information that you immediately can give to your customer service base.
Yeah, I mean, also let's say how AI is implemented. Typically, AI goes to the CRM, to the customer care databases, and that's where it gets the information out of it. But if you go a little further, yeah, and you put it into the core, into the back end of the value-added services, let's say of maybe the charging and of the service control points, it can do immediately of where typically you create a ticket, you send it to your second level, they are going into, they're doing on the analysis, they send it back and give it to the first level then returns to the customer and gives this information. This takes a lot of effort. It is over several steps. And the customer may not be that happy, because you can't give him a first call resolution. You can't answer the question and solve the problem within the first call. With AI, you will be able to do that if it's properly integrated.
Absolutely.
This then goes maybe beyond again just a reseller model. You need to have a light MVNO at least.
Yeah.
But then it can reduce not just the direct cost, but also the indirect cost of the managed services.
Exactly.
So this is what Helmut just mentioned.
Exactly.
Because he's already shivering next to me. It's your slide.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just some examples how much credits are left over in my plan. So you should be able, with automated active information, and basically that's not rocket science anymore. You can easily do it with a bot instantly. I do not understand my invoice. I think that's what you explained. It should not be a process with several internal interactions, but instant information. Yeah, can we jump further, speed up a little bit? Ask for another product. Same situation, and experience a technical problem. It's always useful to be first to inform the customer. May it be via IVR, but this is already like reactive. Better would be via an app or with a chatbot that starts automatically and information flow.
Yeah. So just imagine you have a hiccup in your data services, and people will be crazy calling into the call center and saying, okay, I have problems browsing in the internet, it's so slow, or it's not even working. If this hiccup is captured and in a proper managed network, it will be done in real time. It's being notified automatically, proactively to your customer. They will not call in anymore. Yeah, you send them a text message, maybe not a text, but over notifications, or not using slow and expensive SMS resources, or being proactive on the chat by somebody want to contacting the customer, and you reply, okay, sir, we know we have a problem currently with data, we are restoring it, and it will be back in 30 minutes. Nobody gonna molest your call centers. And this is a quite significant cost factor, because an overflow call center, to ramp up resources that quickly to be able to answer all these additional requests, is a horrendous thing to organize and a thing to pay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So do not wait for the call. You call them
or inform them.
It's a much better service.
Absolutely.
Topic number 3, about the network SLA. So first thing, you can offer any service you want. If the network quality is poor, your clients will churn. You can sell a 50 gig plan for $1 if it's unusable for the customer, or they are not able to experience a good customer experience while streaming. The customer will run away. And you know where they run? They run to the most expensive competitor of you, because they say, I'm not gonna do this again just because maybe a couple of dollars a month. And that's the moment where people recognize it's not that much more expensive to go to someone else. So price is a good argument to sell, but the service must work. If it's not working, people will not stay. And that's really, really undoubtable. We have seen this in so many ways. If the network quality is compromised, you cannot avoid creating churn. You can give them 100 terabyte. Nobody will be interested. Yeah. So why should network quality be different to the host MNO subscribers? You will ask yourself, okay, why should it be? Huh? I can tell you it happens. So the MVNO can become a competitor. We just mentioned that. If you're big enough, or you are fishing in the mobile network operators domain, you will become a competitor. The question is always which market share. As long as you're staying with his general market share over the whole country, no bad feelings. But if they are in a different relationship, then yes, it can. If you are too cheap, you can destroy a market price. Let's say you go on the market with 5G for $10, and the rest of the market is 15. The mobile network operator has invested a tremendous amount of money to build such a network. They have to do an ROI. You as an MVNO, you don't have invested, so you don't have an ROI on that. So your interest is naturally, okay, I want to be competitive, I want to be cheap on the market. But you got nothing to earn back. The MNO has. And once a price mark is set on the market, it is there forever. So if you're starting to destroy the market prices, you may have to have a very good service level agreement, a good lawyer, and good money, good funding to walk this way through. And MVNO consumers have a high usage. So if your usage is much higher than the average, because you're maybe tackling a segment which is data hungry, you may also be somehow tried to be throttled down. It happens, it's natural. However, we are not here now today to tell you not to do it. Well, we tell you. But if you do it, we tell you how you can measure it and avoid most of the problems from the beginning. How can it be compromised? So you can set an MVNO subscriber to a lower network priority, which means you'll either be throttled or everyone else gets a bit first before your customers can consume it. You can be set as an MVNO, your handset subscribers, to a mobile broadband profile. Because what is fixed mobile broadband? It is nothing else than selling the unused data to the customers. So the leftover bandwidth more or less is sold for that, but in a typical configured mobile network, the handset has priority over fixed station. Or everyone is using national roaming, so mobile network operators having the national roaming contracts with other mobile network operators, and of course they have to pay for that. It's not their own one. So by letting you also use their national roaming access, it creates a higher cost on your traffic than if it would be their own network. So this is also a thing where you can compromise your MVNOs. So what can you do? Despite being smart when you're doing a product creation, have an SLO with the MNO in place with very well-defined parameters. Make sure there's a non-discrimination clause in your contract, which is nothing else than saying my customers are equal to your customers in every respect. Set up a monitoring plan, which meets at least scientific, reproducible testing methods. Don't go to your mobile network operator and say, I've just done a speed test on my mobile phone. It sucks. There's 100 million parameters and how shall I say? I lost the word for it, but you cannot scientifically say and prove and really create evidence without having a lot of reproducible testing methods and results. You not just compare it with yourself or with your friend, you compare it with all the other MVNOs, with A brands, with resellers, with competitors. You measure bandwidth and behaviors, you measure the priorities, and you measure how a SIM card of your own network, of your host MNOs brands, and also of other mobile network operators are influencing the current behavior of your subscriber experience.
Yeah.
This is something which you do not only do once, you do it over weeks, you do it over months, you do it 7 times 24 in perfectly professional set up methodologies. Otherwise, it will not have any value. It will only be creating emotions, but nothing which is really tangible.
Yeah, it's an endless discussion with the MNO, and it's really hard to prove if you haven't set up, as Peter mentioned, like a monitoring plan.
Absolutely. So you have to do this permanently. You have to do it throughout the year, and it is a safety belt of your investment. Do it from the beginning, not just when you think about that something could happen because you have a lot of customer complaints or whatsoever. There will always be customer complaints, but when they become really a lot of, think about if you have this in place, you can also already manage and monitor the time before, so you can compare to what has been made changed. If you then confront your host with it, typically there is a technical solution for that. I'm not saying this is done just willingful, but it's to manage a mobile network is really complex and things can go wrong. But for you, it's important that your customers are being served happily. And we found out on how to do this. We have partners who can do that. We are not selling you that. We are just telling you that there is things available, and make sure that you're creating your own data to compare, because typically how it is happening, the mobile network operator, the host MNO will provide you with data. So you're building something on data which you have not creating and have no influence on how you got it, where you got it from. So make sure it's in your control, like the whole life should be in your hands.
Absolutely.
Ideally. Technology. Helmut, you want to talk about the HLR and HSS?
No, I thought it was your turn, but my experience is we had a lot of discussions during the setup of our last MVNO. Why does the platform provider not have its own HLR, HSS? Because we're now depending again on the MNO, his settings, which is true. But on the other hand, who is going to manage it, and for which cost do you get HLR, HSS from your MNO? So this is also something that's controversy you can discuss. I mean, you can have it, but we'll come to a key finding, I think, because it is, as Peter said, a cost-intensive network element that needs to be managed. So you again need people, organization who do it for you. And yeah, the question is, does it bring better customer experience?
Yeah, it will not. It will not distinguish you from the from service-wise from any other competitor. I mean, this is more or less the database where your subscribers are being stored. Does it mean that the customer does not belong to you if it's in your own HLR? You can have your own HLR and the customer still doesn't belong to you. You don't have the contract.
Exactly.
This is a legal thing. It's not a technical thing.
Yeah.
It's nice to have an HLR because maybe you can count your subscribers easily, but that's more habit.
Sure.
Also, if you're stuck with a mobile network operator, if you don't own the HLR, no, this is again a contractual thing. It's a thing on how you have set up your SIM device. So the SIM is the key if you can switch to another mobile network operator or not. And it's not just the IMSI that you can have a double IMSI. No, you also need to think about other parameters. You need to be able to set all of them via OTA if you want to switch to another mobile network operator. And don't forget, you need to have your own IMSI ranges and get this from the regulator. If you get it from the mobile network operator and you share it with him, then you're definitely stuck. Or have a long legal process in front of you to get it out.
Yeah.
However, the HLR is not the key to freedom. It costs money. It does not help you to extinguish yourself, create a USP on the market. And it is also not the key element that you own the mobile to your own subscribers. So it costs money. Sorry for all the HLR vendors, but it is the truth. And in the MVNO Academy, we are here to tell you what's best for you and not best for just one. Again, we discussed about this, owning the subscribers, you own the contracts. You want to swap to another host MNO, get your own IMSI range, get your own network code, make sure your SIM cards are being set up the right way, and you have an OTA instrument on the back where you can change these things and all the things which are necessary.
Yeah, just one word to get all these things done, like network code, the proper SIM, OTA opportunities from a SIM card vendor, maybe. This takes time, this takes preparation time. And if you're really under pressure because you have planned already a launch, you might get trapped by taking everything from the MNO, and then I think it's not that easy to switch in the future if you want. If you're happy with your MNO, no worries, then it's fine.
Yeah, definitely. Your aim should always be, to make a happy and a working win-win situation with a mobile network operators.
Yeah,
this is
but
always
it takes time to get everything in place.
Exactly, and you will not be able to do it the first time on your own, right?
Yeah. True.
It's not going to happen. Yeah, it's not going to happen. We have done this 4 times until we did it right. And I would say we were quite good experts in it. However, we are not the holy grail. Still, there are reasons why you want to require your own HLR. Yeah? You want to maybe close own national roaming agreements. Maybe necessary, especially when you're in a country where you have mobile network operators which have a bad coverage across the whole country, and you want to map all of it. You can have advantages. Of course, your buckets must be full of money, but if you have your own national roaming agreements, you have a very good argument why to have it. And the last one, we have, I believe, 10 more minutes, including quality questions and answers. So how to improve margins. So the least time we have for the most interesting thing. Sell more expensive and buy cheaper. Yeah, that's always easy. So the focus is wholesale is the highest cost of what you will have. If you're not really a magician, I really want to learn from that, but wholesale is the highest cost if it comes to a single item. So first thing is do the business plan first. If you don't have your business plan down, you don't know your value proposition on the market, you don't know which product to offer, it doesn't make much sense to go and discuss the wholesale agreement because you might not know what you need. So do your homework, do your market research, define your value proposition, define the plans you want to offer, and make sure you know your additional candies you want to be on top of it. There was a good story of a friend of mine. He always told me, what's the difference between an MNO and an MVNO? He said, think about a bakery. So you're selling a bread roll. Then you go to the bakery and you say, give me more bread rolls. I buy it cheaper and I sell it then. It will be hard to sell it for a higher price than the bakery. So it will be hard to make this margin. But if you put some things in it, like a lettuce, you make a sandwich out of it, then the price of the bread roll becomes minor. And the margin is being done on additional things. I like the story because it makes it really visual of what we're talking about in MVNO.
Absolutely.
And plan ahead regarding potential promotions you want to do. If you cannot do them and it's not in the whole reflected in the wholesale agreement, these promotions may become very costly. So based upon all this, you've done your homework, you know what you want to offer, you can select the best fitting wholesale model. You simulate different models still. It's not that complicated. And you may know, even on subscriber grow, if maybe another model would have been creating higher margins. Simulate different usage patterns. You may have all the minutes being used, average per subscriber, per plan, the data, things are changing and they change rapidly. Just think about the COVID pandemic. The traffic, the data usage was going rocket high. It was always growing, of course, with technology and better devices and so forth and so on. But then COVID came and it came up. Now we have this wisdom that a pandemic can happen. Assure the price adjustments mechanics are in the contract. I mean, the recent history was really learningful. So make sure that prices not just always go down, they can also go up. And make sure that if they go down or if your host MNO is bringing the market prices down, so you can follow. So these are the wholesales models we know. There maybe are more out. There is an aggregated traffic, which just count bits and bytes and minutes and SMS and roaming and so forth and so on. And you maybe reach some discount tiers. So if you go over and over, the more cheaper it goes. There may be a retail minus product, so you're just reselling what the mobile network operator offers for a discount of 20, 25, 30, 40, 50%, whatever. But here you rely on the MNO offering and it's more going to a very light model. A wholesale plus is where you are defining your products you want to offer. You go with that to the mobile network operator, you ask for pricing, you negotiate the pricing again, and then you can offer it for any price you want. It's very similar to the retail minus, but it gives you the freedom to create products. Traffic packages across groups. Just think about you want to have a family plan. You can have a traffic package for IMSI, so you say, okay, I need 10 gig and price per minute and price per text and then maybe for the data while roaming. But this is based on a per subscriber. If you want to have this one subscriber now sharing with other customers of yours, maybe within a family, you need to have a group package pricing, which is also very important. Why packages and not aggregated traffic? Especially at the beginning, a packages is like a minimum commitment on a per subscriber, so you get a better price. And this can be just a third out of an aggregated traffic, especially once you're below 100,000, 200,000 customers. You may have an extended life size package. Picture you want to bill your customers as it is per 30 days or every month, and you're buying these traffic packages in the same cycle. But there will be unused data maybe. So if you can negotiate with a mobile network operator that the minimum commitments you're taking is maybe valid for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 months, it will improve your margins, I would say, by at least 50%. this is really some money you can make on. But this has to be done, designed, and then offered, proactively offered to your mobile network operator in a smart way. But it's happening. It can be bandwidth based. Within MVNO Nation, we had a good example on one of the last virtual forums where Wireless Republic was giving their story, and it was an amazing story out of Switzerland. So traffic data was not charged based on consumption, it was based on what you need it for. So the bandwidth, if you just have a smart device somewhere giving you the temperature of your freezer back home, 32 kilobytes per second may be enough. A text message would be enough. So why paying anything above that? On the other hand, you can use the same SIM card and use it while home or while driving within your laptop. So you can switch to a higher bandwidth. So based upon bandwidth, especially for IoT products, this can be a very powerful instrument to offer innovative products to your customer base. Network generation base, which is very similar. 2G is dead. Well, still when you're in a remote area, we love 2G because it's the only one which reaches far enough that we can have a call. Yeah. Who needs 5G on the summit of the Mount Everest? Yeah, when you're in an emergency situation, you just want to call someone, not just watch your last video. So network generation based, again, for sensors, IoT, sometimes it's good enough that you can just send a couple of kilobytes over the air. And why you should pay a 4G or premium pricing for that. Roaming. Roaming is important. We see in North America, Mexico, US, Canada, it's hardly any roaming anymore in place. But it is costs for you. Because consider, you don't have any inbound roaming. If I'm a mobile network operator, okay, I pay for my customers visiting in another country's network. But I also get money back because their customers coming back to me and I receive money from the other side. As an MVNO, I have no inbound roaming to offer. So make sure that roaming cost doesn't kill and eliminate all your margins just because your customers are traveling once a year, going somewhere on holidays. And the next thing is quality of service based. So quality of service based is, again, do you need high priority in your network or do you need a low priority? A low priority is, again, something for IoT. If your mom at home cannot send you that he needs a recharge within the next 5 seconds, so he can do it maybe with a little bit of delay of a couple more seconds, nothing happens. So again, always go for the type of traffic, the amount of traffic, make sure it matches your subscriber's life cycle and pay for that what you need and not more.
Yeah, so this will be detail of the homework that has to be done within the business plan and can be chosen and then simulated, because I'm just not trying to relate the outcome of the simulations with whichever way of wholesale or combinations of the wholesale contract will then show you, like in slide 4, the graphs you saw for MVNO types, but also for simulation with usage and which type of wholesale contract did you take. So this is the aim, just to be sure you make the right decisions and you have a set of information, compact, where you can like easily decide what to do.
Yeah. So I think that today no more secrets. I'm sorry that we have been a little bit, too long. However, this is everything. Not everything, but this is a part of all we're gonna teach in our MVNO courses. So we give a lot more of these things and even give examples of a wholesale contract, how they're gonna look like, how a technical setup could be ideal for which and which different use cases, how is laser being backed, how wholesale is being modeled in far more details, so forth and so on. I'm just giving you an overview about what are the next dates. We have 3 international places where we're gonna go. We will be in Bangkok next, covering and make it easier for our dear customers out of the Asia Pacific to travel towards the MVNO Academy. And the MVNO Academy will be in Bangkok on September 18th till 22nd. We do have 12 more tickets left there. After that, we will go home to Mallorca, via Mallorca. We have a good infrastructure over there. It's easy to access from almost everywhere. There's a great airport. We have a great location. We even have some time there to do lectures, maybe on a catamaran, depending on the weather. We don't want to have anyone seasick, but still, it will be hard work, but it should also make fun. And if we look outside, our souls may shine a little bit brighter. So we'll be there again on October 9th till October 13th. And since we're already in Spain, we will love to continue with the event of MVNO Nation holding the days before. So the event will be finished on October 25th, and we will take the opportunity, since all of you are already there, and pack the 5 days program into 2.5 days. So we will start October 25th in the afternoon and will be finished on the 27th in the afternoon. Everybody gonna stay there. It's gonna be easy for you, no more travel. We will pack all the information into that, so which means that the days will be a little bit tighter. However, it will be discounted by 62% for all the MVNO Nation participants. So everybody who's gonna attend there, not just by enjoying, we will give you all the information in back 2.5 days, no additional travel, and you get a 62% for this course. After that, we will finish our year in Bogota for North America and Latin America, being in Bogota on November 6th till November 10th. So we have seats available in all of these. So if you want to be joining us, we'd be more than happy to welcome you there. And yeah,
I think that's it for today.
that's it for today. It's sharp 11 or 10, depending which time zone you are. So we'll be happy to answer any questions. Now we'll also do this, not streaming, but we will do this via the questions chat here within this tool.
Okay then, well, thank you very, very much for a very comprehensive overview. I can take questions now from the audience. Peter and Helmut, if you're happy to hang on for another 10-15 minutes. We've got about 10 questions, so we can run through them quite quickly.
Yeah, we haven't been proving that we are efficient, but yeah, we will try now.
Okay, so the first question is, what an individual or telco professional can expect from MVNO Academy? Is it only for MVNOs?
No, it's not only for MVNOs. So we spent our half-life, I'd love to say that, but it's more than half already, with mobile network operators, building up even radio networks. We are very fit in the core. We are very fit in marketing, customer care, everything what an MVNO does, but also with MNOs. We launched about 20 digital brands, let's say, for mobile network operators. And myself, I have a history also as an engineer in the telco domain. So I've set up MNOs from the scratch.
Very exciting. So there's something for everyone. You mentioned earlier that the courses are for the early stage aspiring MVNOs, but also the established brands, so and operators as well. So that's great. The second question from Alan, whether the slides will be available. Yes, we'll send the recording of this session to everyone after the event. So we're going to do that later today. Another question, I think the question relates to the first slide we looked at about the different MVNO types. What exactly are the terms interconnect and value-added services?
Yeah, interconnect is you are typically being with one host mobile network operator. So you have your own radio access network, but you may use other mobile network operators' network in a national roaming situation example, or you are going out of the country, so you will be roaming on another one's network. These need to be interconnected. So to be able to use that and on which conditions, this is the interconnection agreement. And also what it means if I'm calling someone out to another network. So picture you in the UK and you want to call me here now sitting in Austria. You need an agreement, your mobile network operator or your MVNO with the Austrian operator, to which conditions this call will be delivered and connected. So this is the interconnection agreement.
Conditions means cost.
It's always cost.
Yeah.
Thank you. Another question. Can you help with country-specific telco regulations as well? Does the CARS cover that?
Not all of them, because I've never been in Papua New Guinea, unfortunately. It's my favorite country I want to go, but I would say we will be able to cover something like 50, 60 countries. It depends on. We are very strong in Latin America. We are very strong in North America. We know the Europeans. We know some Africans because they have been hot during the last couple months and years, and also some Asian. But yeah, I wouldn't count myself that we know every country, but we have also a good network where we can reach out to.
Understood. Okay. Do you also advise on funding options?
Yes, definitely. We have also funded ourselves, MVNOs, and yeah, we want to help also others, to avoid maybe some pain and also to help some getting good returns. And again, we are on the network here, Eva. So the MVNO Academy is not just Helmut and me. We have some more professionals who are we are the core team, and we have a great network of lawyers, of venture capital guys. That's also the reason why we're talking about exit strategy, because if you want to exit, you need to know how you enter.
Great. What are the departments in an MVNO? What are the departments an MVNO can have to start with? That's kind of referring back to MVNO type slide that we had. And then the second part of the question, also, if you mention something of strategy while starting planning an MVNO, that would be great. So the first bit was about what are the different departments that should be set up in a new MVNO.
Again, it depends very much on what your proposition will be. You definitely need somebody taking care about. You need a financial, you need a legal for wholesales, SLAs, and definitely for controlling. If you're not managing the costs of your subscriber behaviors, you will not ever be able to adjust and define proper products you're gonna offer. You will need a marketing for sure. You need a sales, distribution. Don't forget logistics. A SIM card needs to find its customer. It's not just eSIM. We all love eSIM, and there may be some markets for eSIM only, but the reality is there is lots of eSIMs out, lots of standard SIMs, physical SIMs still out there. So I cannot give a general answer to that.
No, but from my experience, if you're in a MVNO startup situation, I think it's maybe 2-3 people, the founders, that should cover most of the things, except maybe regulatory affairs, legal, but the rest should be covered by a really small and compact team, because you will see during the simulations that margins are not like 20, 30, 50%. It's quite lower, and therefore you have to really calculate. So if you're talking about departments, maybe we're at the very beginning talking about people. If you're just covering a niche, maybe 2-3 people are enough. If we're entering a market where there is no MVNO and you have really huge opportunity to grow and grow fast, then the departments will grow anyway.
Yeah, but it's a good point. At the beginning, we always try to keep the costs as low as possible, and a handful of people should be enough.
Understood. There's a question relating to AI. What are your recommended AI tools?
I will not make any advertising for any AI tool now, but I would say define your use cases, make sure you cover 80%, don't lose your time and money on the other 20% because they will never fit. But I would say almost any tool will be good enough. Really any tool, even a smart script. You know, a couple of years ago when AI was not in everybody's mouth, we called it bot, and still most of the use cases up to be covered by a bot. But AI, especially when it goes into other core systems in other than just the customer care database, anyone will be good. It's not a matter of how good the tool is, it's a matter on how well you define with him and train, or her, excuse me, how well you define the use cases you wanna teach him and give access to the data. I personally have no preference. Anything is okay.
Thank you. How many customers per one human support person should you aim for if you want to offer both human and chat customer service? And is there a ratio you should aim for?
There's a ratio. Let's say we don't have any AI support in place, then of course for the beginning you definitely you typically need a team of 4 to 5 until you reach a certain size. The ratio then goes somewhere from 1 to 8 to 1 to 14,000, meaning 1 agent for 14,000 subscribers. That's it. That's a healthy ratio.
Could you describe how hot the competition will be between FWA and MVNO?
Can you say it again?
Between, yeah.
It's how, could you describe how hot the competition will be between FWA and MVNO? We can ask Omar to elaborate further if he's still.
Yeah, that would be great. Are we talking about slicing VMNOs? VNOs?
We're gonna find out. Omar, if you could elaborate on the question, that would be super helpful. And in the meantime, we're gonna move to the next one. Has any MVNO been able to launch a 5G standalone service? And what MVNO Nation MVNO Academy is offering to support the transition?
A standalone 5G, I haven't seen live yet. I know there is a Dish in the United States which has a standalone, and they'll be able to launch it, I would say, at the end of this year, beginning next year. It's my expectations, at least what I get from the market. If they let MVNOs onto the market, it would automatically be a standalone 5G. There may be some initiatives in Japan, but I would need to look further. I followed them about a year ago, but I have no update on that.
We've got a follow-up from Omar regarding the question. So it's fixed wireless access. So could you describe how hot the competition will be between fixed wireless access and MVNO?
Well, I see both. Yeah, I see both as an MVNO model. The more capacity will be available on the 4G when people move into the 5G. But I believe it will always be a coexistence, because at the very end, it's a business model for the mobile network operator in any way. I wouldn't say they are competing with each other. I mean, they do on the bandwidth, but yeah, it's a capacity management thing. It's not really a competition thing.
Thank you. How should MVNOs position, strategize themselves for fixed mobile convergence, IMS, and 5G services?
5 questions in one sentence. We see a good market and a really healthy market for the single bill, so for the multi-place, which is the fiber and the fixed network operators also providing mobile services. It makes sense. It's the same nature of service what you offer. and combining them will definitely help to increase loyalty, will create better transparency, and on the other hand, as a result, will increase the retention rate. With 5G, I believe this bond is just becoming better or thicker. So yeah, we have accompanied and witnessed several, if not many, multiplays, or especially coming from the non-mobile vehicle world, from the fixed and from the data world, also going now to the mobile, and it's working.
Yeah, I think it's always the strategy you set according to the homework you did by analyzing the market into where is my opportunity to step in. So our last like artificial reseller customer was basically in the fixed line business, and he was a reseller for one of the Austrian MNOs, but only in the business segment, and he was very unhappy that he got no wholesale offer for the consumer segment. And basically during this time when they set up with us their MVNO, they also got contract for broadband, and they are now trying to combine everything. And basically, I think it's according to your strategy. What are you going to offer? So it's not important for all of the customers, but it's maybe important for your business model.
And it's very easy. It's almost no effort. Yeah. If you have your cable provider, you're sending a bill to all of your customers every month. So you send the message. You just add that you also offer now mobile services. You integrate this into your billing system, and that's it. And there you go. You don't need a full MVNO model for that, or something like this. A reseller model will be good enough for or a wholesale plus.
Yeah.
It's additional revenue which is just to be harvested.
We have two questions relating to the African market. You did mention that you have some experience, but we've got a follow-up question. If you can maybe elaborate a little bit more on the MVNO Academy experience with African networks.
Well, there's Africa. Africa is a lot of opportunities. First of all, the markets is liberating. That's one thing. Recently, I believe 28 licenses have been given out in Nigeria. And especially Africa is such a young, vibrating continent. Certainly, it depends on which region you are, which country. So one is out after the other. And it also depends how the mobile network is already behaving in terms of quality, and where you have a good coverage. I mean, it doesn't make sense for a mobile network operator to give out MVNO access if his own network is poor. But there's great new mobile networks already out there, and you have a really nice opportunity in Africa to combine it with other services. I mean, we all know the M-Pesa story, which has been working really, really well. Not in all the countries, but it is so local. I don't know if this English word exists. You can really localize it. You can really customize it for this specific market, that you combine it with many other things. So there's definitely a fintech component in the MVNO play in Africa. There's an opportunity. There's in logistics. There's transportation. There's payment. There's healthcare. There's just paying the electricity bill, making travel, less, which also then contributes to the carbon footprint, simply because we're talking about this. You can combine so many things and help people making the mobile handset the centric way on how to deal with all the daily challenges you have to do. Yeah. And just think about e-learning. I mean, especially people in Africa had it quite hard, through the pandemic. Kids to access educational services. Yeah. But this all contributes, and I believe everyone with a good entrepreneurship heart will be able to create something in Africa. I love to do it myself. I'm myself in an initiative in Africa to serve customers in several countries. But I love the market, and I would go there anytime.
Thank you so much for all of the answers. It's been 20 minutes now, so we have a couple of more questions, but we know who asked the questions. So Oleg, Mark, and others, we will come back to you by email. We'll ask Peter and the team to reply to you after the event today by email and answers to your questions, if that's okay. Lovely. So we'll have to say goodbyes for now. Well, thank you so much, Peter and Helmut, for joining us and for all of the insights.
You're very welcome. Thank you for hosting the event, and yeah, we look forward to seeing you on one of our orientation cruises. That would be awesome. Spending so much more time, and we will also have that time, off the course schedule, because we will spend 4 days together.
Sure.
Very
Thanks
exciting.
a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Have all a good day.
It's time to close the event, so thank you so much to all of you for joining in today. We will share the recording with you shortly. As you know, we're preparing for our MVNO Nation live event in Valencia this October. If you would like to register your interest in participating in the event, we're going to share a link just now in the chat. So please follow the link to register your interest. We hope to see you there. For now, have a great rest of the day. Goodbye.